This podcast is brought to you by Again and Forever and by the Final Frontier podcast.
As far back as I can remember, I have wanted to be an entrepreneur. Now, I am here to guide you through the intricate paths of building your business, embracing emerging technologies, and navigating the startup world. I am Saul, and this is Startup Corps, your go-to podcast for entrepreneurial insights and tech-driven success. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast again. Here we have Sebastian Mourra today with us, speaking from Miami. Is that right?
That's right. Here in Miami.
Very nice. So we got the pleasure to meet in something very special that he does, which is hosting events for founders. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's an event that we do once a month. It's called Founder Fridays, and we invite any founders who are building a startup, or if you're later stage, just kind of come around and enjoy some time with fellow founders. And one of the things we try to do is really focus on understanding like what's going on in the business, what are some challenges that people are having, and we use that to be able to help each other and find ways, whether it's helping with marketing, go to market, invest, fundraising, or just whatever typical challenges we go through as founders. So we host that once a month. It's part of This Week in Startups. They back it as well. And yeah, it's just something that, we all enjoy doing. And it was great to be able to meet you there in a couple of events as well. So
yeah, as well. You've been around.
Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us today. And what we're going to do today, I would like you to use us as an investor, pitch to us as an investor. You are a founder. You're actually, this is not your first startup, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I would like you to start to pitch 3 minutes or something like that, what you're currently working, and we take it from there.
Absolutely. One thing we're building is called Alphana. Alphana is we're building an autonomous AI content manager. Today, what it'll do is it'll help you turn any video or audio into over 50 pieces of content. So, we could take one video and generate a series of short form clips, YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, anything that you need from a video perspective, as well as content for like LinkedIn, X, threads, and blog posts, newsletters. So we're really automating the entire workflow that a lot of creators or anybody who's in the business of creating content, podcasters, founders, etc., to be able to just leverage that content into multiple ways. And our vision is to, essentially make that entire process autonomous. That's what we're really working on. So
fantastic. So that's a different approach to AI that the people are not too much aware of, right?
Yeah, you've got one hardcore set who are early adopters and they get it and they see it. And but we meet people every single day who just never thought that something like this was even possible, even just being able to repurpose that content. They're doing it very manually today. And so, yeah, it's something that for us, I think there's a lot of work to go across all companies to be able to get more people to adopt AI in different ways, aside from just, using ChatGPT in a chat interface type thing.
Fantastic. So what will be your business model?
Yeah, so our business model is subscription-based. It's subscription with usage. So we charge a monthly plan starting at $39 a month, and it comes with a certain amount of credits and a number of hours of video content that you can upload. And depending on the plans, we'll scale up the amount of credits you can use as well as hours in there. And once you top up, eventually you'll be able to just purchase more credits and hours within the platform. But everything starts off with a subscription plan to get started.
That's pretty low, actually. $30 per month for people that do this as a job, I think is pretty fair, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. We talked to one customer, and on average, if they're saving 75% of their time that they would take normally on content. So put into perspective, let's say in 1 week you're doing 10 hours on, taking your content and repurposing it. And right now we're saving them 7.5. They're getting it done in like 2.5 of what they normally would done. That's over 500 hours a year alone, just on the workflows you can do today. and some others have bigger gains, but that's what we're seeing across the board right now.
All right. So two questions. One will be that I want to tap into that. Into so many people are concerned about losing their jobs because of AI. So this seems to be one of those cases, right?
Actually, so the way that I see it is the ones that aren't leveraging AI are the ones that are going to lose their jobs. Really, AI is a tool to help you to amplify what you're doing.
Mhm.
That's the way that I see it. Now, people will lose their jobs because they haven't figured out a way to adapt and do what they need to. There's always going to be more work for people to use. Alphana helps you to replace a lot of the tedious workflows that a lot of people didn't want to do anyways, right? Some people might want to create 100% content from scratch. They're not content creators. They're not involved.
Mhm.
And then you have this segment. So if you were that person in charge of repurposing video content or taking your video and creating all these other formats, editing, doing all these other items, the way I look at it is like, instead of saying, hey, I could do 10 videos a week, you go back and you'd be like, hey guys, I can actually do 50 videos a week. Like, why aren't we doing 50 instead of 10, right?
Yeah.
Because in order for you to kind of really cut through the noise, if you can put out more content, of course, good content, don't just put out crap. Why not bring in more business for what you're doing, right? Because a lot of this content you put out there helps with a big piece of it is like top of funnel leads. You're driving a lot of people to come to your website, to your software, to your store, whatever it is. So if you could 10x the amount of traffic, the amount of leads, the amount of sales you have, that's how I would think a lot of people who are concerned about losing their job is to leverage it to be able to help them to actually amplify instead.
No, it sounds fantastic. So the other aspect is that, okay, is a small amount of money for even a small startup with zero revenue, zero sales, that they have to go out there to find investors, they have to go and find customers. So this seems to be a perfect tool that they can use just one person maybe, or part of their time to create content, because every single app, every single technology or a startup, they need to be out there to find one thing or the other, right? What is your advice for these startups to use your platform as a great service that you're offering?
Absolutely. Look, if you're a founder or a startup and today you don't have any content, you haven't recorded any videos, and you just need to get content off the ground, you could leverage existing video content, drop it into Alphana, and use it to create content inspired by that piece. So if you find an awesome YouTube video that talks about some topics that are relevant to your startup, go and get that video, download it, drop it into Alphana, and within Alphana, you'll be able to now generate a series of LinkedIn posts, X threads, video clips that you can share on social media, and you now could become a thought leader for your specific space. Even if you're presenting items that are existing, as long as you're crediting back to them, it's an easy way to get out there, because a lot of other creators would love for other people to keep sharing about their content, as long as you do it tastefully and you refer back to them, link back to the original source. So that's what I would say is it allows a lot of people who aren't doing it to just at least get started. And the second piece is, if they don't know what type of content to create, we have a whole series of templates. And so you can use a tool like Alphana to come in there and just be like, look, I am a B2B SaaS startup for real estate. I'm just making up an example. And I need to create content in that way. You can just type that context in there, and from there you can select a template to generate a series of LinkedIn posts or X threads that will target that demographic, and you could just use Alphana in that way. And so there's multiple ways you can use it and get started. As long as you get started, that's key, right? That's what I would say is, like, at least get something out there.
Yeah.
Start posting some content, and then little by little, as you're posting, you can refine and make it even better, right?
Fantastic. So that's another angle. So, okay, yes, we will pay the monthly fee, but on the back end, on your side, you're going to provide some support, right? Some advice on how to do these things. Is that an extra cost, or is part of the service? Please tell me about that.
Yeah, so we are toying around with adding additional service, more so we can learn even deeper on challenges, workflows, and kind of scale. Everything right now is within the product. It's self-serve, right? You can log in. We have a couple of training videos, so it helps you to get started. There's templates within the products. You could just select one a la carte and generate. Even if you're not into AI and you don't understand how to use prompts, it doesn't matter, because we have an entire library of AI cards, which are already preset and built with prompts inside of it. You could just pick it from like an a la carte menu. It's super simple, right? Because some people don't understand how to write a great prompt to get a good result. You know, if you just go to something like a ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to write me a LinkedIn post, it'll look completely different than the output what you'll see inside of Alphana. Same with like an X thread, a blog post, because there's a lot of work that was done there based on research, based on what's worked that people can use. Now, for people who are more advanced and they do want a higher service of figuring out like the types of content, those are things they can book a call with me directly from the site, and we can have a conversation and figure out if there's something a little bit deeper that we can do to help them.
Oh, that's great. Actually, yeah, I can think of so many startups that could be using this like they now. Is this ready available? Like right now, the service is working?
Oh yeah, it's up, it's working. We've got, we've had thousands of creators already using it. We launched it officially in July, and so since July we've already grown to thousands. So yeah.
Fantastic. So is there any other thing that you're looking now? I think you already got customers, paying customers. So are you looking to fundraise? Are you looking for some expansion strategies? Tell us something about that, please.
Yeah. For us, so in my background, I've always bootstrapped companies that we've had before. This one we decided to bootstrap to at least get our product working in market and bring customers on board. For us, it was about validation and really seeing what we can do ourselves and kind of pushing things through. And now we're at that point. We're finalizing actually materials and meeting with investors to start raising our first round. So we funded everything up to now, and now raising a round to actually blow this up. One thing we realize is, so our vision and our mission is to be able to bring on board over 1 billion creators. And in order to do that, like, we do need some additional capital for some of the things that we're doing, because to get to 1 billion, people sometimes think it might be a little crazy because there's not 1 billion creators today, but with how much more accessible and some of the things that we're cooking up on the back end of how things are, it will enable so many more people to actually either become creators or to be able to create content, or even leverage, it doesn't even have to be a person, right? Think of other AI agents as a creator themselves that might need to leverage something like Alphana has. And so for that, we're looking for good partners and investors that believe in that vision to work with us so we can grow this thing to where we know this is gonna blow up too.
Will be fair to say that basically you are democratizing the creator ecosystem for anybody that want to just start?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it, right? You're democratizing it, making it a lot more accessible for anybody to start. You don't need to understand marketing, how to grow, right? Or, in the end, you'll be like, hey, I'm an electrician and this is what I do, and I've got to get more business in this local area. What do I do? And it not only puts together the plan, but it starts generating the content and executes it for you. So that's kind of our ultimate vision. If just imagine anyone being able to get to that point. And not only that, but for existing creators, what kind of sucks in being the creator yourself is that you have to be involved in everything that gets that handled for you. Like you are the talent, but how do you scale that, right? Accordingly. And that's always going to become a problem. And so it also helps for them as well, right?
A problem that I have heard recently is like there's a challenge to keep up with the new algorithms in YouTube and TikTok and all the other social media and in X. Is there something that maybe you are able to help these creators? Like, the clip needs to be this long, they need to be released at this time of this day, as often, and all that part that is kind of complicated.
Absolutely. We're always thinking through these and staying on top of what's going on. And so even in, for example, we create a series of templates and AI cards and update them, right? Once we see new things happening or if there's new trends, we're easily able to make those updates so that once you're in the product, you could just continue using it and always know that it's going to keep up with what's going on. Yeah, I'll give one example. Something that's really important for people to understand, like for example, Instagram, if you want to get traction on Instagram. So of course, posting content's important, and their algorithms can display your video to different people. But the best thing for Instagram is not just getting followers or getting likes on your post. That helps. The one key metric that's extremely important on Instagram is the amount of people who actually share that video to another person in a direct message, the one-on-one or group message. So if I watch this video, this reel or this post, and I send that to you as a DM on Instagram, that metric is key. And seeing the velocity of that metric helps the algorithm to be able to be like, wow, this is actually content that, this was so interesting that it actually made this person share it with someone else one-on-one. And that helps to boost your reach within a post that way. And of course, they tie other metrics like your likes, your comments, and the quality of the people who are interacting with your post. All of those do take into account, but DMs is huge. And so that kind of changes your strategy. If you're going to record a video or you're going to create a post, instead of saying, hey, like my post or follow my page or drop a comment, you really want to focus on one call to action. That call to action and be like, share this with someone else who had this issue, or share this with your best friend, or share this with your spouse. You want to encourage that person to share that individual post with someone or a group chat, but as long as they're sending it within a DM. And so there's little tidbits like that. That's like one of tons across each individual social network that people need to be aware of.
That's very, very interesting. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you end up in here? Tell us where were you coming from before coming to Miami?
Yeah, definitely. I was raised in Miami, pretty much most of my life. I've got a background in the music industry, always in digital, always social media. But the music business has always been a huge passion of mine. I played music in school. I was a DJ for about 10 years. And I ended up working at Universal Music Group for about 5 years. And while working there, I led product and marketing, digital. Like I was kind of involved in so many different aspects, which was awesome. And during that time, I got to meet with tons of creators, musicians, artists, producers, obviously working with the labels, working with the providers like Spotify and Apple and all these different places. And so, that's always been my background. And we ran, at one point I had about 140 artists' social media pages that I had to manage while I was at the company. And of course I couldn't do that myself. We had to bring on extra team members. It was a lot, but it was a big thing. But we always saw kind of insights from meeting with creators on like the challenges they were having, right? If you think about, let's say, a musician, they are in the content creation space, right? They create, but in the sense of creating music, recording music, playing music at tours, but a majority of them aren't social media native in the sense that they're content creators to go viral on like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. They need help with that, right? They want to play music. They want to write music. They want to write that. That's what they do, which is so different. So, after Universal, I left Universal to start up a company, and with my co-founders, we started up a digital agency providing building out microsites, experiences, web apps, design, brand, product, UX. Like we kind of did all that in-house, and we worked with the record labels. We worked with artists like J Balvin. We did work for a lot of brands like Corona and Dunkin' Donuts and all these. And so, so that was kind of like a big jump from going from working at a big company to starting up something from the ground up. And since then, we launched another 2 software companies. One was a real estate marketing platform, We somehow fell into real estate. One of our business partners had a business there, and we just kept doing work. And in the end, half our business ended up becoming real estate at one point. And then we had a gamification platform called Ezio. So that company, that one helped to power the first ever rewards program with Sprint and Dunkin' Donuts. It was essentially allowed any brand or even a business to be able to spin up a loyalty program and a rewards program. And we incentivize people through gamification methods. In the end, we ended up getting acquired. So all three ventures, we sold the companies, and we ended up, working at the company who bought us, and also the PE firm. We kind of merged the companies, and our goal was to take now, everything, and the whole thing was to be able to go for another exit, right? 18 to 24 months was kind of the time limit at the time. So when we did the deal, we had to kind of merge everything. I took over a couple business units, and then from there we ended up getting acquired again in 2021. And after that other acquisition, decided to take some time off, and me and my co-founder decided to get back again and start up another company, and that's where we started Alphana last year. So we're kind of back at it again after going through multiple facets of it.
So after all those companies, what was the most challenging thing that you suffered, that you struggled with?
Oh, wow. So one of the most challenging things that I struggled with our first companies was letting go and delegating. So if you think about when you start a company, you do everything, right? You're solo, or you and your partners, like there is no like role. You're not like, I just do one thing. I'm doing finance and bookkeeping, and then you're doing marketing, and then you're onboarding customers, and you're having sales calls, you're pitching. You're involved in like every aspect of the business, and even support tickets. It doesn't matter. And I think that was very challenging up front for me to let go. And we started hiring more people, but I always had to be involved. That feeling of like, wow, we're responding back and forth to this big Fortune 500 brand. I got to make sure I reviewed every little thing and be involved in every part of the process. And I think, I don't know if you've ever suffered that, but a lot of founders might suffer that early on, where you're so involved and you got to get to a point where, like, am I actually causing more issues than value? What is your time valued at? And could you be working on more important things? And so it took a little bit of time, but we started hiring more people, and little by little, I had to start letting go of some of the stuff that I was always involved in, to the point where, and don't get me wrong, I still had my hands in some areas, but there was a lot that I had to just be like, all right, I don't need to be involved in those decisions. You guys carry on. And I think that really helped to be able to kind of really focus on like higher, like vision, strategy, sales, like that part of the business, right? So you can start working on the business and not in the business, which ended up great, because that's, part of that journey helped lead to the acquisition, but it wouldn't have been done if I didn't let go, and I didn't have an awesome team and co-founders to like truly keep the company going the way it was. So yeah, I would say that's one of the challenges.
Fantastic. So you were the CEO in all those companies?
Yep.
All right. So
CEO.
for the people that are listening to us, so the CEO job shouldn't be as the day-to-day operations. With the companies grow a little bit, the CEO need to let go on the day-to-day operations and need to focus on three things, which is fundraising, which is vital, which I will ask you a question about fundraising, strategy, very important as well. And the other thing is sales. Sales drive business, and with no money, there's no business at the end of the day. So and make the other fourth thing is make the hiring and make the people work together. What do you think about those four jobs for the CEO?
Absolutely. I mean, and the last point, recruiting, right? Always be recruiting, always finding people. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially the way I would put it, especially early on, depending if you have other co-founders and you can divide the work. Early on, you're going to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
If you have co-founders, great, split up tasks somehow. You've got to be able to split it up. But yeah, you want to get to a point where you're really focusing on, again, making fundraising, sales, strategy type thing. Once you're able to expand.
The Final Frontier podcast. These are the voyages of Jake Boger and Justin Spur. Our weekly mission: to explore memories of Star Trek's strange new worlds, to recall the search for new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has had the spare time to go before.
The CEO is very important, but the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, is very important as well. I'm afraid that your co-founder is the coding guy, right?
No. So my co-founders actually design UX, UI, kind of product aspect and marketing. Her and I go way back. I was always very technical. I don't code anymore. I do a lot of no code. I've been very involved, but that's how we had set up our structure, and we have our tech lead. And so that's kind of the way we're set up right now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So the other question, so what was your challenge to get funded? Or this was self-funded, friends and family? When you got this idea and you said you need a little bit of runway means some money to start and pay for people's salaries. What was your take on that? How was your experience?
For the first companies?
Yeah, for example, the most challenging ones.
Yeah, for the first companies, we bootstrapped the companies, but we were working on the companies while we were working our day job, right? So a lot of times it kind of starts that way. And so me and my current co-founder, we also had some good friends in LA. So we moved to LA. We lived there for about 5 years. And while we were in LA, we met with some good friends, and we decided to start up the company together. And of course, we all had our day job or businesses or whatever was going on, and we started doing that. One of our partners put in some cash because I had secured a big deal. So that was our way of like each contributing part into it. But we were able to close the deal and have a little bit of cash before we all left our job. So we were able to kind of almost secure a little bit. Now, it wasn't enough to sustain us long term, but enough that like, okay, if you quit your job and you do this full time, you could make a living, right? So we were good to last maybe a couple months. And of course, if you dedicate your entire time to it, then you can do it. So we funded the whole company primarily bootstrapping and closing sales deals to be able to bring the business. And we bootstrapped that company all the way till the exit. Because, for example, one of the businesses, when we saw it getting traction, we had the top 4 of the 5 property management companies using the platform. We were like, it was insane. And that was just in a matter of months. So that was an opportunity where we're like, you know what, I'm going to go fundraising. And that's when I had a great team. And I started fundraising for about 3 months, I would say. We were almost done with closing around, but during that process, we ended up meeting with a PE firm. And that PE firm was the one that owned the company that acquired us. And so in the end, it was like, we don't want to invest in you, we actually want to buy you. So we had money on the table. We were about to close around, and then we had the acquisition. You know, it's a great position to be in, right? Where in that manner. So we ended up getting acquired before we raised funding for that company. So up to that point, everything was pretty much bootstrapped.
How did you manage to get the contacts to all those PE firms? How was your approach? Were you looking for them on LinkedIn or face-to-face, personal connections? How was that?
For most of the investors, we're networking, cold email, cold pitches. I mean, going to different events, meeting different people, asking, people, if they knew anyone, that helped as well. Like, hey, I'm looking for an investor, and you try to get some warm introductions. I would recommend that, like, top priority is to try to get as many warm intros as possible. But it was a little bit of all. I didn't have a network. I didn't know any investors at the time, pretty much any, that I can think of. And so a lot of it was networking. And even like a startup competition, I jumped in. We found out last minute about it was in Miami. There was a local, like a real estate startup competition, because it was for the real estate product that I started fundraising for. And when one of my team members found out about it, told me about it, ended up applying, and we got accepted, which was awesome. And that helped because I got to get in front of an entire community of investors and people from the industry. And from there, one of them was part of the Miami Angels, which was the syndicate here in Miami. And so I got to apply there, present, and that gave me access to now an entire syndicate of angel investors. And we made it through the last round. So we were pulling an investment from that group, and then individual investors were like, outside of this, I want to invest separately. So we were closing that deal. And the rest of the round was a lot of LinkedIn DMs, email, like just kind of reaching out to people in that way. So, when you're fundraising, you want to figure out every avenue possible to get in front of people, network, meet more people, ask for referrals, and get some more intros whenever you can. And don't be scared about cold pitching anyone, so that's what I would say.
How many pitch you did before receiving the first money from investors? Around ballpark.
I probably had at least maybe 50 to 100 like talks, like actual conversations, pitches, or stuff like that. But remember, I didn't actually raise the money because we ended up getting acquired. But I would say it was anywhere between 50 to 100, but I contacted thousands. Okay. So we did a lot of cold email for like 2 or 3 months. And so I did contact thousands, but not everybody's going to respond. But yeah, it was between 50 or 100. It's been a couple years.
So on the cold email side, where did you get the emails from? There was a list that you bought, or?
Yeah. So right now, I would say some of the best places to get the email list would be Apollo is one. That's a great one. So you can go to Apollo and find the criteria of who you're looking for. Oh, another one, at least to see the contacts. I can't remember if email addresses are on there, but NFX has a portal.
All right.
To look up investors. NFX, I can't remember it's called Signal from NFX. So signal.nfx.com. I'm actually using that right now it helps to be able to find and narrow down investors by industry, by seed, pre-seed, Series A stage. So it allows you to kind of narrow down, and then from there, it might have some contact info, or you can use something like Apollo to go get the contact information for the right investors you're looking for. And then Instantly.ai is a great tool for cold email outreach. And so it helps to set up all the email sequences. So that'd be another good one for founders to use. So once you have your emails, you can use Instantly.ai. And I think recently they added the ability to find contacts in there. So, you could see what kind of investor contacts you could find in there as well, and use those to be able to handle your outreach.
That sounds great. Great advice. Thank you so much for that. So is there anything else that how we can contact you? Please tell us your website. Tell us anything else that you would like to do or say before we close.
Yeah, definitely. I would, go to Alphana.ai. That's www.alphani.ai. You can sign up for a free trial if you want to give it a shot. And reach me on X. So x.com/Sebastian Mourra, Mourra. Shoot me a DM, follow, and we can engage on there as well. If anybody needs help or anything like that, happy to help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Any last advice for entrepreneurs, please?
Advice for entrepreneurs. What I would say is just get started. If you've got something in mind and you have an idea, don't hold back. you might as well dive into it and talk to a lot of potential customers. Ask the right questions. Look up the mom test. That book might help you with some of the interview questions to talk to customers if you're trying to unravel a problem or a solution for someone. But just get started. Don't let anything hold you back, is what I would say is one advice.
And the worst that can happen with that process is that you pivot and pivot and pivot until you find something unique that nobody else have thought about.
Exactly. I'll tell you one thing. You only fail if you quit.
That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to close this. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Looking forward to connect with you again on Founder Fridays and to see you around. Thank you so much for making this.
Awesome. No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.